So your thoughts about where Baylor is and how Dave Aranda, with what he was given, and how he has built this roster with transfers along with recruiting, and where you think they might be.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable to look at the day and age of the transfer portal and where this program is kind of evolving to. But he has literally he kind of preceded with the way he was developing his roster what the transfer portal was, right? You look at Dylan Doyle, Jake Burton 2 years ago, and those guys that he really kind of started implementing that for. And now he's continuing to do a supplemental recruiting and saying, I'm not going to build my roster off of the transfer portal like we've seen some programs attempt to do in college football, college basketball, whatever. But he's going to find guys that truthfully fit his within his evaluation of recruiting. How do these guys fit in, not just from a talent standpoint, but from a mental standpoint, from a character standpoint. And so far, I mean, you can't say enough good things about the guys that he has on his roster. Now, I think every individual has a different personality, and every individual has different, kind of quirks with their personality and the things that they do. And you have to treat each person differently, or each player. But the way that they've gone about finding the guys out of high school that they really like from a character talent standpoint, and supplementing with players that come in to make an immediate impact has been remarkable. And I think that he's so diligent. Dave Aranda is so diligent, and the people around him understand so well what he wants in building a culture that we saw it last year. It was a foundation of high school players and a lot of players from a previous staff, but we're heavily relying on guys that he brought in to help win the championship. And now you see it, you're starting to see it again. They haven't moved too quickly. Josh White, obviously a big one coming from LSU at linebacker to replace Terrell Bernard, or hopefully that's what he does. And he might take a couple more this offseason. And obviously Jackson Player being a big one of those pieces coming in at semester on the defensive line. And that was just a take more so to bolster a defensive line where Dave Aranda wants to be more like the SEC. You can never have too many guys like that. And it just, I really like his approach, and they're very diligent. They're not just going after anyone and everyone. They're being very careful who they're recruiting. And I think that just really culture he's developed in, a little over 2 years.
Is that why? I mean, it's because it's a lot like Scott Drew in the basketball program. They shop at the portal, but they don't have to put anything back in it. That's how football was this year. They didn't lose really. I mean, they lost a couple, but I mean, when you have 85 players, that's going to happen in the portal. They're not losing nearly as many as even good teams around them that are going in.
Yeah, and I think that really speaks to what he has developed as far as a culture. Now, I think if you would have gone back to 2020 and maybe without an awkward year with COVID and stuff, you might have lost more players, but I think there was an understanding from guys like JT Woods or even Christian Morgan and Kalen Barnes and the guys that you're seeing, Tristan Edler, Abram Smith. I mean, those are guys that kind of said, okay, we're gonna stick it out. Let's do it again and then come back and let's do it again and see how it works. So I think it speaks to that culture that has been developed at Baylor and under Dave Aranda. And he's not, I mean, you guys know this, but for anyone that doesn't pay close attention to Dave Aranda and his previous stops or at Baylor, he's not going to MF anybody. He's not going to really get worked up. But if you're not meeting expectations and ultimately exceeding them, you're going to know it. And he's going to make changes, and he's going to make them swiftly and abruptly. And that goes for the coaching staff, and it goes for the team. And I think the players really that are there really respect that and know if they put in the work, they're going to be rewarded for that. And I think that's really helped with the case of the transfer portal. Now, they got to get through the spring. Obviously, spring is this week. And we'll see if any other guys hop into the portal once they realize, well, maybe I'm not in line for a starting job and my clock is ticking. But I think most of these guys would have already transferred if they didn't believe that they wanted to be at Baylor playing for Dave Aranda and his coaching staff.
Colt, there's a